What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today we're going to talk about Hurry Up Tomorrow. This is the Weeknd's film. He didn't direct it. It's from the director of Waves and It Comes at Night. So it should have A24 vibes, basically, because both of those are A24 movies. But does it? Does this have A24? It does have audio description, I'll tell you that. That's a little something that I can share with you. It's done by Deluxe, narrated by Julian Smith. So this is definitely a film, sort of like every year when I end up doing sort of like my best of lists for audio descriptions, sort of like separately from Hurry Up Tomorrow is definitely immediately right up the front of the list. Like last year I didn't like Sasquatch Sunset that much, but I can't deny the fact that audio description is fantastic and central to the whole film. If it didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to watch that film at all. So that's true of Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is not going to be that rewarding an experience for blind and low vision people, but the audio description tries to give as much as humanly possible. It's not a very dialogue heavy movie. It's not completely silent. It's not void of dialogue, but it is very much not the focus of the movie. So The Weeknd, I'm not going to use his real name because he doesn't even use his real name. He's basically playing himself or a variation of himself. So yeah, Abel in this movie, guess what? He's The Weeknd, like in concert. So he's ending like a different named artist. He's using his, so whatever. And he's going through stuff. I love how simplistically IMDb's description of the film is he's like an insomniac that is going through stuff. And I'm like, okay. So what I think, where this film is coming from somebody who's ever been on a stage. If you've ever performed before, I think you're going to have a different take on this film. You're going to have a different hot take on Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is, I think the film is largely about sort of like imposter syndrome mixed with performance anxiety, and like stage fright and those kind of things. And they can get you, even if you're used to performing on stage, if you're just feeling unprepared. There's a scene where he sits down with his doctor who's explaining to him what this problem with his vocal cords is that he thinks he has. And the doctor says it's mostly psychological, like it mostly has to do with stress and anxiety. So, yeah, if you're experiencing that, if you're doing that to yourself. Also, he drinks and smokes in this, which are two things that are not good for your voice. And I love that, like, nobody tells him not to do that. It's like, oh, you're feeling like you have a problem with your voice? I don't know, maybe stop doing two things that are bad for your voice. He just, so many pop artists don't actually have vocal coaches. Like, they don't really sing properly or anything. And I noticed this too with the Simple Plan documentary. They're like, the lead singer's like, I'm not a good lead singer. I wouldn't be able to be on American Idol. Sometimes my voice, it just hurts when I sing. I'm like, have you ever thought about like getting with somebody who, like a vocal coach to figure out how to, anyway, just Jesus Christ. So that's what the film is. And then we also have Jenna Ortega here, who's playing like an obsessed fan, basically, who sees The Weeknd. They connect on a deeper level. And there's this ridiculous scene where like The Weeknd is like running away from his concert and Jenna Ortega's like running to him, and then they meet. It's very cheesy. There's a lot in this movie that's just so stupid and so cheesy. But sometimes in sort of that like real world thing, when you get past everything, you just get real. Like the film has some substance to it. When they have just, I don't know, a little bit of conversation, or when they're just calming down and they're not trying to over stylize, and the film just kind of kicks back. Like one of my favorite scenes is just like sitting at the breakfast table, and You know, the weekend's just sitting there staring at his phone and everybody that he blew off from the previous night when he ran away from his concert. And she's just like staring at him. I was like, there's something like we're not really doing much here, but thank God we're not doing much here. Like, um, because the film, like he has this moment where he kind of like goes through the floor like he's in Get Out, you know, like he does that where he like goes into like another darker world for a little while and gets kind of trippy down there. There's shades of misery in this, definitely. Some allusions to misery. But Barry Keoghan is in this too. Not really. Same thing with like Riley Keough. I don't know that they offer a strong support to this film. It's mostly just The Weeknd trying to like do. I don't even really know what the purpose of this is. Like I know he releases music and this film is used as a vessel to support that music. And I'm assuming he wants to do like what Prince did. Like he's of the age where he probably grew up and like Purple Rain was like a cool thing for him. And he's like, where's my Purple Rain? This is not Purple Rain, man. This is this is something else. This is closer to This Is Me dot dot now, you know, dot 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 now, than it is Purple Rain. I don't know what other artist travesties have been out there in the world. It's a stumble. It's not really, you know, um, some of the artists, they got cast into things and it helped them because they ended up being like in a music movie that both supported who they were, even if the movie wasn't great. If you look at sort of like Elvis Presley's movies, I don't think the movies are necessarily stand out and great, but they kind of support Elvis Presley and they're kind of loosely based around, you know, like Heartbreak Hotel, you know, those kind of things. So people just kind of knew what to put him in, like what would work for his fan base. He didn't go do some really weird self-indulgent project thinking this is what my fans want, is some trippy music video A24 vibes thing that is not, it just doesn't work. I know he was on Idol, which, you know, HBO didn't stick with, so maybe he's confused and thinks that's the kind of content he needs to continue to make, but I I disagree. I think this is you know, I have to walk a fine line. Last year, I talked about there were a couple films that were made by auteurs. Now, this director's not an auteur. I'm sorry, but It Comes at Night and Waves does not make you an auteur. That does not not an auteur make. I don't even feel the need to say your name. Like remember it, Kyle Jordan Alvarez. I don't know something. I feel like that's too close to the name of the actor from English Teacher, but it's something like that. It's Kyle Patrick Jordan, or he's got three names. So he also generally, you know, it's how when people always end up doing like bad things, they always have like three names too. We always know what their middle name is. You know, devastation in the heartland today. The responsible party is Dwayne Brian Johnson. Why do we need to know his middle? I don't know, but we know his middle name now. It's creepier that way. Not that that's for everything, but there's just last year we had auteurs and they were stumbling and they were trying to make interesting things. You had, you know, Francis Ford Coppola with Megalopolis. We had Joker Folie à Deux. We had Here. We had, I mean, Gladiator 2 was okay. It just wasn't Gladiator. I don't know that anybody ever actually expected it to be Gladiator, but the other three films, you know, with Zemeckis, with Here, is he's trying to do something different. So there is sort of an understanding that what he's doing is a swing and it's intriguing and it's interesting in its own right. And there's sort of like for like a one-time experience to see what this experiment is like. Cool. And it's fun to see Robert Zemeckis do it, because Robert Zemeckis, even though in the last couple of years has directed some absolutely terrible movies, he also has directed some really great movies in the past. So he is capable of it. Megalopolis is really remarkably interesting in and of itself, to sit down and watch. I think that film's going to have a longer life, much the way Showgirls did, where people like years from now are talking about Megalopolis like they talk about Room, like The Room, and doing weird things with it, and like Megalopolis the musical, just really bizarre things I think are in future for that. Nothing that Coppola would have wanted. And Joker Folie à Deux was almost felt like handing somebody and saying, almost like what they did with the Wachowskis and the Matrix films, which is, we're going to make a sequel anyway, so either you're on board or you're not. And of course, Lana Wachowski got on board and made the fourth Matrix movie to be very meta, and actually referenced that and was like, well, we're going to do it without you, and decided to make that part of Matrix 4. So, might as well do it, right? So, but here I have a director who really hasn't proven that he has anything to say. One of his two films is not very good. Waves is like the only thing to stand on, but one film does not make you an auteur. And then you're doing Hurry Up Tomorrow. So now I just don't think you're a good director. I just don't think that what you're putting out to the world is interesting, that you understand narrative structure. I think it's hilarious that there's a script to this, because there's no there's no real understanding that there's script. Probably the best move that they made here was casting Jenna Ortega, because her role in the wrong hands could have come across as really campy. I mean, her role is not great, poorly written, and over the top. And Jenna somehow finds a way to make it seem more Kathy Bates than just like ready for memes and gifs, she's in not a great movie, and she manages to take what she's got and turn it around. I still think this film is very memeable. It's very gifs, and I there was a moment where like The Weeknd just shouts "shut the fuck up," and I was like, oh, that's gonna be, somebody's gonna clip that and start putting that into YouTube videos. And it's gonna be for this movie too. It's gonna be for Hurry Up Tomorrow. Someone's gonna do a review of Hurry Up Tomorrow, and it's gonna be "shut the fuck up." Just in the middle of the video. Man, it's not good. It's just not a good movie. Audio description is fantastic. There's so much depth of audio description, because there was in huge parts of the movie, there's nothing. There's like nothing. There's no dialogue. Sometimes there's some singing, but a lot of times, what's happening visually is more important even than the music. So it's like him having sort of like these mental breakdowns, and feeling unsure about him in the middle of a performance, and taking out his earpiece to see if he can hear himself, and that kind of thing. Like sound design and stuff like that. I mean, this movie has a competent budget. I don't hate that. The audio description track does have audio ducking, because this film is there are large sections of this movie which are supported by The Weeknd's music, which is just like, it's just blaring. So it has no choice really but to audio duck, because during some of the loudest sections of the movie is when it needs to have some audio description. So it's almost like has to bring the volume down a little bit. It's not great. I don't love the mix as much, because I hate when that happens, but I understand it. I mean, shit's loud as hell in some parts during the concert scenes. So, but the writing is terrific, and that's what I celebrate. And Julian Smith is always a solid narrator. So, Hurry Up Tomorrow should not hurry up anywhere. Hurry Up Tomorrow should go back to the future and figure out where how to fix. It's- we need the DeLorean to go back and tell the Weeknd to not make this movie. There's nothing about this. It just has terrible scores across the board. IMDb's like 4 point something. Metacritic is like a 20 something. It has like a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now I have to join in on it. And I don't go into these things with the desire to always run with the crowd. I'm sort of new to the tomato meter, but I've already given one film that had like a 23%. I gave it one of its fresh scores. So helped that film out a little bit. And then also, like, if there's a film that's super fresh and I don't like it, then I don't like it. I'm sorry. But yeah, Hurry Up Tomorrow is just a mess. It's not the worst film I've seen this year. So that is a truism. I've seen at least a couple films this year that I would say are worse than Hurry Up Tomorrow. There's a section of the film when they're in the hotel room between The Weeknd and Jenna Ortega that is moderately interesting, and then there's the rest of the film around it, which is not. There's even this little part where he goes sort of like into the floor where they try to tread into like horror movie territory for like a hot second, but they're not confident enough in it, so they don't stay there. They could just keep going into this weird sort of like paranoia thing with his supposed insomnia slash stage fright thing. And this could have been a great film. There's stuff here where if The Weeknd had really wanted to explore what that was like, cool. But this is trying way too hard to be some sort of stylistic A24 nonsense. This is not even being released by A24. This is Lionsgate. This film seems like it's like desperately trying to get the attention of people who watch A24 movies and say things like A24 vibes. But it's at Lionsgate. It's not. A24 doesn't want you, bro. Like, they don't want this film. And for good reason. It's not a good movie. Even though the director's last two movies are A24 movies. That should say something. So Hurry Up Tomorrow is a hot ass waste of time. But yeah, it's not the worst film of the year by any stretch of the imagination. But man, it's got very little working for it in terms of anything. So I'm gonna give Hurry Up Tomorrow a 2.2 out of 10. We're gonna go with that. There's a little bit, like I said, there's a little bit in there, and Jenna Ortega's fine. I'm not going to besmirch her. She really tries to make this film work. The Weeknd, I don't know that The Weeknd's a strong actor, but I mean, it's his fault that the movie exists. So, he dug his own grave in this one. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.